It's really cool.
And quite frankly, a lot of people are very, I think at this day and age, the players of this game are really waking up, because it seems like everything is quickening in a sense, like it's happening very fast. A lot of things are being put together almost like it's orchestrating some type of mass event that's on its way. I don't mean to say that in a doom and gloom kind of a way, because I try not to say anything in the negative, but at the same time, we have to realize that there is a negative out there that's also making its way in. So there's this duality that we live in, and that duality is so constrictive. You know, it's not our, I don't believe, in my own opinion, I don't believe that it's our true reality. That's why I talk about simuology, and that's why I talk about living in something that's not the true reality. It's a lower vibration of reality, if that makes sense. And
no, yeah, 100%.
And it's like, you know, our consciousness is almost like it's just connected into here. It's not completely here. And when this physical dies, it has nothing to do with our consciousness. Our consciousness continues on. I think it's interesting. You know, I just saw an article pop up about Bill Nye and how he confirms that there is no life after death. And I'm like, well, how could you confirm that? Yeah, how could you?
Oh, that's funny.
With everything, everything that is out there right now, that is more. There's more proof, especially in these near-death experiences, than anything that I've ever seen, that our consciousness does continue on, and that there's a message that they bring back every time.
Yeah, every time. And that's wild that he would say something like that, because Bill Nye, I feel like, is pretty progressive. But the weird thing that I think about often, actually, now, I've grown up in church, when people talk about the afterlife. And I just feel like, have you died before? You know, like, how do you know what you're saying is to be true unless you've actually experienced it? And so that's why I love talking to people like, I had this experience. And I go, okay, you are a professional death expert. I don't care who you are. You can go to school, whatever, but you actually experienced it. And so I trust you more than I trust anyone, any scientist saying, oh, well, this happens. I do understand when they say, you know, the 10 minutes in the brain. And honestly, that's probably true. I mean, I don't know that they've done studies on it, but that time that exists, that 10 minutes doesn't exist in time. It's just an endless amount of time. It's an infinity. That's when I went, I was literally there for an eternity. It never ended. I'm still there now. Like, I do believe that. But that's why I say that there's, you know, that death doesn't exist, because every time I go, I'm there for an eternity. I'm living a whole nother life, and then I eventually come back. And I don't know, maybe one time I will test the theory and I won't come back and we won't have to talk about it, but it's consciousness and unconsciousness. I won't know. I'll be in another space. So I don't know why, you know, Bill Nye, he's a smart guy. Who's the other guy that also said in the wheelchair? Sorry, I'm saying.
Oh, that was the Hawking, Stephen Hawking.
Hawking. He also kind of said something similar too, right? Where, you know, like, God doesn't exist, and
What's interesting to me, they're smart. They're very smart, and you know what? Here's the thing: is that science has its place, but at the same time, science also has a bias to it.
Yeah, you got to be smart.
Yeah,
you have to sound smart.
Yeah, and
it sounds spiritual.
Exactly, it conforms itself to these rules. Okay, that the same thing that religion does. So these really hardcore religions, they conform themselves to rules, and they don't relax it just a little bit. Does that make sense? If they would just relax those rules.
Religion recently, in the past just few years, my dad's a pastor, and I've watched it become so progressive. It's so different now. It's very much a lot more open-minded, and I sit there and I go, wow, I can't believe, like, a lot of these things I used to say back in the day, and they would shun me from the church. And now it's common. It's it's this thing where they're like, okay, let's not just, put ourselves in this box. Let's try and believe and open up our minds to see, there's something that's different out there that we may not have seen before.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
And what's interesting is that my uncle, he was a pastor, and I think it really depends on where you're at in your journey, if that makes sense, because a lot of times,
for sure,
some of them, we grew up Southern Baptist, and it was fire and brimstone, and it was a fear that I had of God, right? Fear.
Yeah, the fear.
I had more fear of God than I did the devil. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
I mean, and that's not how it should be, right?
No. That was it back in the day. It was, if you disagree, if you have a far out thought, then it was, this is not allowed,
right?
And you would get in trouble.
Exactly.
But now it's definitely changed, and I really can appreciate the progression that they've made. Because it helps me, because I just want to study everything. I want to study anything that has to do with death. It's like, I look at this place we are now, like high school, and then when
I agree.
There's the cool kids in high school, and then death would be the real world, and it's the most important. That's why I tell people on my streams, and I tell people in life, I say the most important thing that I hope that you can take from me is to protect your subconscious at all times. It's the most important thing that for me right now that I know, with my past, 3 near-death experiences, and I call them clear-death experiences now, because it's definitely more clear than this world.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
The most important thing that I've learned is that you need to protect your subconscious, because it's like death musical chairs. I've had, near-death experiences, clear-death experiences where I've gone to this great place where it's, oh my God, this is an ecstasy, it's a euphoria, it's the greatest place to be, and my body is no pain, and there's no fear, and there's whatever. I've been to that place, but I've also been to what I guess they would call hell, where my mind was not in the right place when it happened in it. And I wanted to go because I just want to experience death as much as possible so I can speak about it. And it just wasn't the time. And I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I thought I had an out to do it, and to go to that place and not have people say he committed suicide, and so I took the opportunity, and it was just literally every single PTSD moment that I've ever had in my life played simultaneously, experienced at the same time on repeat until I brought myself back. So that's why I say protect your subconscious. You got to be in the right place. And people ask me, how do you protect your subconscious? What does that mean?
Right.
But you got to get all that bad energy. I don't say negative energy because I don't really think negative energy exists. It's all positive. It's just pushing in a different direction. But you have to surround yourself with all the things that you want to take with you for eternity. And it's tough because humans exist, and you do have to communicate with humans, and you can't control humans.
You can control.
You can manipulate energy, but humans, they have their own simulation, their own personal matrix that they're working.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It's really hard to control, what's not right in front of you. And so, but I just tell people as much as possible, if you have somebody who's ruining your day once a week or whatever, you have to eliminate that from your life. I know it hurts because you think you have to, like, there's something inherently like in humans to think like, okay, I have to suffer,
right,
for whatever reason. But it's you have to let that stuff go. You have to get it out. You have to, because it comes with you forever, and it's just
it does. And actually, I believe that it hinders you from advancing to the next level. So essentially, I've always believed we're in a school. So like you said, it's like a high school.
Yes.
And what's so interesting about it is that my vivid lucid dreams that I've had are so I will see like I'm in a school. It is the weirdest thing. Like I will see people, and I'll see people who I don't know in my physical, but I know them in that spiritual or in that that higher level. Does that make sense? And it's I've had these weird lucid dreams of being with these people that I just don't know in this life, but I know them. And we're all going through our own matrix, our own simulation, if you will.
Right.
We're all going through this, and it's all schooling. It's all to teach us how to let go of what people consider the negative. But what you were saying, which I liked, was that it's just positive. It's just moving in a different direction. And I really find all of this stuff incredibly fascinating. So let me ask you, could you share with us a little bit about your near-death experiences and how this happened to you and how you came to this point of thought?
Where do you want me to start? The most prominent one, the one that I really wanted to focus on when I posted was the COVID one, because that was just the most clear. That was the most where I was in one space, and then I was in a definitely another space. That was where I knew as soon as I popped into that space, when I took that last breath and it was just, I knew that I was dead. And it was so clear. It was just like, anytime I'm here now in Earth now, I'm like, this is all just a dream now. It was that clear, where it's just like you pop and you just know where you are. And the way I described it was, imagine yourself waking up on the dark side of the moon, and then you are there floating in space. And now remove the moon, remove the earth, remove the stars, remove the sun, remove everything, and now it's just you floating in darkness. And it's the darkest darkness of dark as dark as you can imagine, and it's just you, and you're in your own orb, just floating, and you're just there. And as soon as I realized where I was, I knew that I was going to be there for eternity. You just know. You're just like, okay, this is it. Like, this is where I am, and it's the scariest fucking thing ever. It's frightening because you're there, and you're like, what am I going to do? Like, what's happening? I'm just here. Like, this is it. And then you accept, because what can you do but accept? Sure. And then once you accept, you realize that there's no pain. I'm not black. There's no white. There's no hate. There's no that the weight on your shoulder of trying, of pressure to be successful, or, to make money, and all these things. All of that is gone. Right. And as soon as you get that realization, you're like, oh my God, I'm home. And then this just most euphoric feeling all over you, where I described it as 1,000 orgasms all over my body at the same time. And other people, I've read their near-death experiences, and they've experienced that too. And it's just this.
Yeah.
And it's like, like when they show the like the astral projection images, those, and you see like the body come out, and it's just like, oh, right. It was literally like that. It was just like, but I had no body, but it was just like this energy of just like, I don't know, freedom. Yeah. Where, you're like, okay, I'm home. Like, this is it. Like, this is where I gotta be. And so I'm there, and I'm just in this space, and I can feel everyone's subconscious, and you just start it's like you're communicating, but everyone gives you space at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, like, we all understand each other. We're like, yo, we're here. Everyone here is cool. Like, this is why we're here. You know, you made it. And so you're like, they just welcome you home, and you can just, you can't see, like people say they saw grandmothers. I've had other experiences where I've actually, like, it's been like a movie where I've gone through my whole life and I've seen, but this was not like that. This was just me in my space and everyone existing around me. And then I started going through there I was just there, and it was it. And it was just like, okay, this is it. And it was me alone with my thoughts and my subconscious, and just there and just being, and you're just existing. People are like, that sounds boring and it sounds scary. And I'm like, well, I think I don't know I guess it depends on who you are, what type of person you are, but maybe maybe that would be someone else's hell.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because they, I don't know if they appreciate their own thoughts. But for me, it was just, it was home, and I got to sit there and go, okay, let me think about everything. Let me take a pause. This is my time out. And the time right before that, I had been very sick. So it was like me being in pain and being sick and just dying for months, and having my TIAs, my transient ischemic attacks. And so it was just like all of that and leaving, and just that's when I said, okay, this is what they talk about when they say, well, now they're not in pain anymore, they're in a better place. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm there.
Right.
I'm in that place that they've been talking about, this better place. And it's just so free. But I one of the reasons I didn't want to actually start sharing my story and talk about it, because I didn't want people to be like, oh my God, like, Earth fucking sucks. Why would I want to be here when this guy's describing this place that I could be?
Right.
That's so much better, and then cause people to say, okay, well, I'm just gonna go there because I'm depressed. My life sucks. I'm poor. I'm whatever. And so it's hard for me to tell, like, that this place exists, and that's why I have to keep kind of testing it out, and I've definitely been able to see another place where I went, that I was talking about earlier, where it wasn't my time, and I tried to force it. And so I do know that I know personally that suicide is not the way.
Yeah.
Now your mind has to be in the right place.
It does.
And I think that's very hard to do with suicide. It's impossible. Your mind there's no way you can be in the right place.
Yeah, and I'll actually add to that a little bit, because I had a woman on who talked about, and she had, I want to say, so many near-death experiences. I want to say maybe 10 or 12 or something in her life. And each time she kept trying to leave. So each time death hit her, she was trying to get out. Okay. And they kept saying, no, you can't leave yet. You have to stay. Yeah. And she kept putting herself in these positions where she wanted to leave. And what she told me was that what she learned through it was everybody has, even if it's suicide, okay, it doesn't matter. When they leave here, they could even leave without suicide, but if their mind is in a bad place, if their consciousness is in a bad place, it will continue on, and they have to make things right. That's the whole point of the schooling that we're going through. They have to fix it and correct it before their time is up, because when their time is up, they'll carry it with them. Now, if you carry it with you, and I don't know what your opinion is on this, but when it comes to reincarnation, it's like they send you back to the school. Because we've had people on who have talked about reincarnation and have remembered past lives, and people who remembered it when they were 3 years old, 4 years old, and they were first brought in. It's like they remember what it's like on the other side. And then all of a sudden they say, like what you brought up, none of this matters. Money doesn't matter. Race doesn't matter. That's just your avatar. nothing matters. The only thing that comes down to what matters is actually how you communicate, care, and respect and love the consciousness around you. That's really it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Literally, that's like the meaning of life.
Yeah, exactly. But we're so controlled. We're so controlled in this this dualistic structure of, I don't know, this vibration, this low vibration. That's like it's challenging us. It's causing us to say, it's making us doubt ourselves. And if you brought up a good point, these things in the physical don't matter. They really don't matter. What matters is that connection that we bring to each other, and that generation doesn't understand it just yet.
Yeah,
I think there's some control there that's happening.
There is.
You know,
and who's to say that the place that people go to doesn't change over time? Because I guess, you know, like the things that I saw and I experienced were everything that I had experienced here. And so, you know, like 500 years ago, they didn't have TVs and laptops and the internet. And so, you know, I don't know that my subconscious, where I went, is the same as, you know, like a TikToker subconscious. You know, maybe they go to TikTok land. Right. You know, and there's, I don't know what, you know, growing up now is much different being grown up on the internet. I grew up on the internet, but I didn't grow up on the internet, you know, right. As these kids are, they wake up and they're at school and they say, "You want to be famous?" at lunch, and they just go and get famous. So it's a little different for them. I don't, you know, but I mean, either way, if your mind is in a depression state, I do believe that carries with you. Mm-hmm. I was very blissful for my COVID in February of 2020. I was happy. I was ready. I was calm. And so I think that's why I went to such a great place. Mm-hmm. Before, I mean, when I had my anaphylaxis in 2018, I think it was more of a, like the general NDEs that people have, where your life flashes before your eyes. And sure. I went through my life, and I had the questions. They asked me the questions, where they try to bring you back, the 3 questions, and the first one, you know, they say, you know, like they just ask you 3 times basically to come back, and on the 3rd one they said, I said to myself, if you could come back knowing everything you know now from your experience that you just went through, would you do it? And I was like, yeah, you know, I was like, dude, I know everything. I'm going to tell everyone about death and all these things that happen. And when the second time of my COVID, when I asked myself these questions, you know, the first one I said, come back, we need you, or they need you. And then I saw the wars, and I saw you know, I didn't see this on the anaphylaxis death, but on my COVID death, I did. I saw, they said, Daniel, I saw the wars, and I saw, you know, like the Renaissance and World War II. I saw, you know, Genghis Khan. I saw, you know, cavemen fighting. I saw, like, it was this, you know, like just sort of like a royal rumble going on in your head of like, these people need me, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it was just, if you can imagine, like chaos. It was just chaotic. I was like, no, I'm not coming back to this one. Right. Why would you even ask me? Is this a setup? Right. And then the second voice said, we need you. And then that's when I saw my friends, and I saw my loved ones, and that's when they said, I read somewhere that they said that you absorb other people's consciousness. And I think that's what happened on that one. I saw everyone. I got to see people's stories. I got to see perspective. Bullies that have like bullied me, I got to like go through their story. I got to see them being abused. I can see these rooms. I can see people being abused. I can see people being molested. All these things I could see. It was literally every single person I think that had ever come into my subconscious, I could see. I owned a bar or a nightclub before I died. I could see like the bachelorettes that I would come in, that I bought them shots. I could literally see their story, and it was like there's a lot of time. It was billions of years. So all of my friends, you know, and I just seeing all these people's stories. Anyone who would ever come in contact with me, I can see, and I'm going through their story. And it's a good lesson with perspective, because now when I come back, my perspective has grown exponentially. You know, when stories happen, I have to stop and I have to go.
I want to thank you for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. You know, we talk about a lot of crazy stuff here, so if you want to hear more, just like and subscribe to the channel. It would really help us out a lot. And plus, if you have a crazy story, whether it be an alien abduction, near-death experience, or something of the paranormal, or a glitch in the matrix, please let us know. Share it in the comments. We'd love to have you on the show.